All right.
Yeah, but sometimes those are the best. So good morning. Last good morning of 2024.
It's true. Very true.
Feels like we're in the future. Gentlemen, how you been?
Wonderful. Dave, I saw your new cut. Looked good. Yes.
Quite a fade, and we're back on the road. We're here in Kissimmee, Florida. So different background. Had to spend the last 15 minutes figuring out lighting,
Yeah.
audio. I bring the camera on the road. I don't have my microphone, so you're gonna have to deal with the new AirPods.
It's all right.
That's all right. I've got like 30% battery life where I am right now. So this might be a quicker show than usual.
Yeah. All right. What are we talking about today? I know, Dave, you wanted to talk about some ads. I'll work on getting those on screen, but you want to kick off with something else?
Yeah, because Tony had a topic or two. So Tony, why don't you start?
Yeah. So, this time of year, it's always interesting. I see family that I don't see the rest of the year. My wife, for those who don't know, my wife has got a huge family. She is one of 14 siblings. I have no siblings. So I stepped into this, it's like a tidal wave of family. And with that, you have all these new connections and resources. So the other night we go out to dinner, we go to a Lebanese restaurant. It was an amazing experience. And we're talking, and my sister-in-law, she is a teacher at a boarding school. And I'm like, a boarding school? I never even considered a boarding school. Anyway, $70,000 a year to send your high school student to a boarding school. I believe it's more expensive for them to actually that's just tuition. And they have 2,000 applicants that apply. They only accept 70. She said every boarding school in the area is just flooded with applicants. The demand far exceeds the capacity. And I just go back. I'm like, this is such a different world than what I'm used to. I wouldn't even know this world exists. Just like the therapists who are so stuck in the world of, I can't afford a $15 copay, yet you've got, people that you don't even know are out there who are willing to pay whatever price they need to get the services they want. I just feel like we have these walls, and until you get out and meet people outside the profession and other walks of life, and you start hearing these stories, you realize there's no limit. Like, there's no limit to what we could charge. There's no limit to what we can deliver. I love those kinds of experiences, and that's why I try so hard to get outside the echo chamber of physical therapy. Do you guys have any experience with that or anything like that you think about?
Well, so, all right, boarding schools. I would love to know like the past 50 years of this, because boarding schools for me was a thing that was talked about in like 80s
Negative
sitcoms,
right?
And it was always negative, or it was European and it was bougie, right? It was like everybody in Europe went to boarding school, or you went to boarding school / military school. It was a punishment. And somewhere along the lines, where you went to college, where you went to high school, where you go to kindergarten became a symbol of status. And I don't know the answer, but I'm terribly curious about how that happened, because if you can figure out how that happened, if you could recreate it, where could you put that? Could you say that having your on-call physical therapist is a sign of status, or what is status now?
So I specifically asked her that question because I looked at my wife, and I knew my wife, we have 4 boys. I knew my wife was like thinking the same thing. Oh, these are problem kids and you're sending them away because you don't like kids and you can't deal with it. And I said, well, first, do the kids enjoy being there? And she was like, they love it. It's incredible. It's like a summer camp. It's like college for high school kids and younger first. And then I said, well, what's the context? Like, why are these parents sending these kids to boarding school? A lot of times it was the parents are traveling for work throughout the week anyway. They're CEOs, they're celebrities, their occupation requires them to be on the road anyway. They wouldn't see their kids anyway. So this gave them a chance to send their kids somewhere where they can make connections, they could start building their network, get exposure to other like-minded people and families that are coming from wealth and these kinds of situations. I remember, this goes back, I'll share 2 quick stories. So I did 2 clinical rotations as a student at Bolletary Tennis Academy, which is connected to IMG. It's like a 200-acre campus. They had kids from all over the world that would come. They would prioritize sport, and then they'd have school on the side, and it was a boarding school, and these kids loved it, and they were largely from other countries. And it was a great experience. I mean, they built friendships that lasted pretty much their entire life. And I remember talking to Ron Miller in Orlando and saying, like, why don't we have more therapists, especially somebody in nice areas, creating this kind of rehab experience in the States? I know you could go to Thailand and you can go to other countries and you can do, a knee replacement for a fraction of the cost and live like a king. But like, why wouldn't, even here in Ohio, Cincinnati, Dayton area, I'm like, why wouldn't I create a 30-day experience, 28-day experience where I coordinate the hotels, I coordinate transportation, I coordinate everything. And somebody literally comes like a rehab boot camp. They live on site, the meals are taken care of, transportation, rehab, and they focus 100% of their time on getting well. And it's not just the, rehab part, but it's like learning new things, mindfulness, meditation, yoga, all of the things that we would want to incorporate, personal chef. Like, there's such an experience we could build there. But I think most don't, because they're like, well, who would pay for that? Well, there's a ton of people that would pay for that. And once you open it up to anyone, anywhere, all you need is a handful, right? All you need is 3 or 4.
So the first thing that comes to mind, let's go back to boarding schools, and then we'll go to like summer camp for ACL reconstruction,
Yeah.
28-day boot camp. So with the boarding schools, you have 2 audiences. You sell prestige. You sell, this is what's best for your kid. You sell, this is how you get them ahead. You sell the future to the parents. And to the kids, you sell fun and all the things that they want. So it's 2 different audiences to get one yes. And if you flip that over to, I guess, rehab and medicine, that's when things get wonky, because if the insurance company is the parent and the kid is the patient, the parent, the insurance company, doesn't care. They are self-motivated, where the parent is very much, I will bleed for this kid. I will do what's best for this kid. So I think there it is, like sort of the similarity, but the differences.
So on my show months ago, I had covered something like this. I was Spiro Clinic in Arkansas. It's like a chiropractic owned practice. They don't have physical therapists, but they have, you go on their website and they call them like exercise therapists or some BS. Like, it's obviously like personal trainers or
dance around the
stretchologists, moveologists, posturologists, whatever. But on that show, when I covered that, it's something like $40,000. They help people start a GoFundMe, which that's a side conversation. Like, that means like you don't have the financial resources, so maybe you're not the right fit or whatever, but like they help them with all that. So that's kind of what you're talking about, Tony. Like, if you're talking about the patient side of things, I was thinking like on the therapist side of things, and I was like, well, I mean, I'm paying my therapist pretty well, and I'm trying to support them, and I'm trying to think like, could I do that, or am I already doing some of that stuff or whatever? But yeah, I don't know.
No, I remember that episode. I remember talking about it. That is the model that I think there's a group of clinicians within the profession that would love to do something like that. And I just think it's not even on their radar. They're not even thinking about it because they can't imagine. And it wouldn't be insurance reimbursement. Like, maybe you would let some of that insurance come in. Yeah, but it's just, why do I send my kids to a private school instead of the public school? I would argue here in Ohio, the public school has far more resources, far more money, far more access to programs that I would love my kids to participate in. But there's other reasons why I pay extra money to send them to a private school, And so, but if you're not in that world, I think you just don't even think about it.
So the cost of the IMG Academy is the $70,000, or that's a different.
No,
the boarding school and IMG, 2 different things.
Two separate stories, but just repeating the same theme, which is, look, if I'm going to take something serious, if I want my kid who maybe has a propensity to do well in a sport, I'm going to put the time, the money, the effort behind them doing well, and I'm going to put them in an environment with other people who are just as focused. You know, if I want to learn something, I mean, we all went through PT school. Like, we would not have learned as well if we weren't in that confined environment with other like-minded individuals who are challenging each other, pushing each other to learn and do, and you know, all that process. I mean, anybody could go buy the same PT books. We can buy the same textbook.
Right.
We could save $150,000. Like, but there's something about being in that environment. And I think the people who are successful in anything understand that focus. Dave understands the focus. If he wants to bat better, pitch better, catch better, he needs to be around better baseball players than he is, you know, and he gets himself into those environments. So I don't even think it's that hard of a sell. I think it's just creating the option.
It's creating that there's got to be someone on the other side for you to want to jump, right? Where's your sell? Where's your, well, this person's already here. Are you going to play with them, right? Where's your LeBron to make you want to come to wherever he went? He went St. Mary's or whatever he went to in high school. It's like, what's your draw? So could a clinic or a business create this while when the ship has already left the port? Like, could you convert a clinic to say, like, we are now this, or would you have to start a new ship and say, now we're this, we're shifting over from this model to the other? Which would be a better idea?
You take Tony's clinic as an example. Continue in the new year, continue taking insurance contracts, whatever, and just start a secondary offering. You could put on the website. You could just run ads to that and not have it on the website. You could pitch it over the phone. Tony can, you know, cherry pick certain clients. Like, he can verbally pitch it to them and say, you know, whether it's the thing that we covered before that Jeremy Sutton started to do, like the return to golf program, and your therapist is going to come, you know, on the, you know, the links with you or whatever. And if you charge a couple $1,000s or whatever the thing is, like, you could certainly just start pitching it. And then Tony can have his PTAs or someone else kind of do a lot of the fulfillment on the patient client side of things, whatever it is, like whether it's knee replacement rehab or whatever.
So before we go to Dave's ads, what do you think it takes to make that switch? I know for me, and you hear this saying all the time, like, I'm sick of being sick. I get to the point where I'm so fed up with being underpaid, overworked, not having anything to show for my efforts, like killing myself to feed the passion. I have to get to the point of anger, like legit anger, before I'm like, you know what, $350. And if you don't want to come, I don't care. Go find someplace else. Like, I will kick you out of my clinic. I don't think that's making the decision from a place of power. I think that's a bad way to make the decision. But it's the same way like the holidays, right? I eat junk. I'm consuming like cake and cookies and all this stuff. And I feel so sick, so bloated, gain weight to the point where I get mad. And that anger is what makes me flip the switch. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm not eating any more of that crap. I'm gonna, going for a run. Even if it's a crawl, I'm gonna get out there.
People say you don't make a change until the pain of not doing something is greater than the pain of doing something. So it's like, it hurts me more to sit on the couch than it would to actually, even if I hate running, to run. It's like, that's got to outweigh that. So that's where it's like, you have to burn the boats. It's like, you have to take it away. This easier option is not an option anymore here. So if you want this, you go through door A, because if you give them A and B and A is easier, we're big dumb animals. And that's not an insult. It's just like, understand that we will default to A until B is the better option, until we honestly believe B is the better option.
Dave, what were you going to say?
So I have something that kind of ties this together with the that you're talking about earlier with like the boarding school, or like the option of something that is either way more expensive or takes more effort or is kind of like not the norm. So the other day, so now we're in Central Florida. We were seeing family in South Florida, and it was the day after Christmas. And we're outside walking with some of the family members, walking the baby in the stroller. And it was like 70 degrees. And I pull up my phone. The weather in New York was 30 degrees. I was like, oh, I'm in t-shirt and shorts. It's breezy as the sun's setting. It's taking pictures of the sunset. Beautiful. And we've talked about it intermittently over the years. Like, I fully understand now why people snowbird. Like, I used to not understand it. Now I get it. I totally get it. And for the past, I don't know, past couple of years, Andy and I have talked about like could we start snowbirding? Like how, but here's the thing. Most people will be like, no, like just conventional wisdom is I can't snowbird until I'm, I don't know, 50, 60, 70, 80, whatever. Right. And now, for a lot of different reasons, whether it's being around different minds like you guys or just exploring different things, it's more like myself. It's how could we do that? Right. Like I'm only treating like 2 patients at a time right now, like back in Brooklyn. So it's not really me generating patient income or revenue. So it's like, well, if I had this, if I grew a little bit more, or if I had, if we're looking at some target companies, and if we acquire one of them in the new year, whatever, and then in the next couple of years, there's like enough cash where like, certainly we could do this remotely. So I'm looking at it as like, how could I afford that? And I think that's something when Tony, you were just saying like, we're not going to take action until we're either angry or, I don't know, frustrated or something like that. And maybe that's a lot of people, but I don't want to be like Jimmy was saying, A and B. I fully know what the one direction is. I understand. I've seen my family, my friends, all, if you live a certain way, you do a certain thing and you just take that route. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're in a great country, arguably the best country ever. So that's still a great route. But then the other route of like, how can we potentially afford to snowbird, send our kid to a boarding school, charter school, whatever, the best school, Ivy League, whatever it is, those types of things. I think patients or even physical therapists can maybe evolve over time to think, how could I do that? Not like that, I can't do that, or it's impossible. How could I do that? Therapists watching, listening. How can you add $50,000 to your income per year? Like, it doesn't make sense, but if you came to me and said, I can help you with Breakfast Club, I can help you with leads, I can help you with lead nurturing, I can help you with acquisition targets, I'll reach out to company, whatever. Now it's like, no, that maybe gets me closer to doing the thing I want to do, which would be whatever, snowbirding or whatever.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like I said, it's not the best way for me to make decisions. I want to be in control. I want to be proactive. I want to be moving toward the outcome I want. But I also acknowledge that a lot of times I just go with the flow. I'm going to take the easy road most of the time. I'm not going to go into resistance most of the time. And so as a result, I end up waiting way too long to fire somebody, too long to make a decision, too long to do anything, because I'm comfortable until I am not comfortable anymore. And that's kind of, I seem to find those cycles in my life. And since it's the end of the year, we think about the annual review. Like this is a deficit of mine that I acknowledge, that I know is there. Even stupid stuff like a leaky pipe. I'll let it leak to the point where I can't let it leak anymore. And then I'll take action and do something. I could have taken action a year ago, but a lot of times procrastination does pay off. What's up, Jimmy?
Do you know the broken window allegory, the broken window fairy tale, the story?
Tell me.
Guy buys a house and it's got like a really ornate, like fancy window, and the kid next door kicks a soccer ball into it. And it's like a basement window, and he's like, I'll get to it. But he's like, oh, I'm looking at it. It's like, it looks like it's custom. It's going to cost a lot of money. He waits a year. It rains, it snows. Now there's water damage and there's water getting in. He waits more because now it's more. He wants to sweep it under the carpet, the rug more. Finally, the pain, he's like, I want to go sell the house or do whatever. The pain hurts so much, I'm just going to pull the trigger. He finds out it was $100 fix originally. Now it's going to be $1,000. But we're defaulted to do that. So I'm going to give people grace and just say, like, your initial response is to make sure you are breathing and have food and water and no bears, right? So I get it. Like, that's your initial response. There's your emotional response. This is where I think we should go a little bit backwards. It's like, we're big, dumb, emotional animals. Good. The window's broken. Don't fix it because I'm not bleeding. It's not stealing food or water from me or air, right? Then go to the logical response, which is, I'm going to have to fix this. I'm not doing anything today. I could default on laying on the couch, and I get that, and I'm guilty of that myself. But if I wait, it could be $1,000 problem. Or why aren't I in Florida when I want to be? What could I be doing now to get there? I mean, dude, if you want to talk really personally, you know, I've been going through some stuff and I've talked about it a little bit with my dad over the last year and a half. There are some triggers I haven't pulled because I'm emotional, right? Why haven't I moved on, you know, getting him different help? It's because I keep saying I'm the best person for this. So I keep doing it, knowing I'm not, like deep down inside, logically, I know I'm not, but I don't want to have to say that out loud, right? Now that I'm doing this out loud on a live streaming a podcast, but you don't want to have to say it out loud because it's personal. So I think you have to do the dance of emotional and logical, or you'll get burned.
So this conversation, for anybody listening, watching now or in the future, these are the conversations that I'm trying to figure out, that I'm trying to create a framework for, to help the person that's sitting on the couch right now come into my clinic. Like this is the sales copy that we want to capture, the insecurities, the frustrations, the stuff that's going on in our minds, because my ideal client is sitting at home right now, 10 pounds, 20 pounds overweight, out of shape, in their late 40s, early 50s, maybe 60s, looking at the next 30 or 40 years, saying, I've got, you know, a couple $1,000. What the heck am I going to do with it? I'm not going to buy Bitcoin at over 100,000 a coin. I'm not going to put it into the stock market at all-time highs. I'm not going to. What else do I do? There's nothing better to do with the money that's sitting in my account that's depreciating every day than invested in my health, my fitness, my future, my family. And so how do I motivate that person through video, through text, through communication of some kind to take action, to fix the broken window today instead of next year, and come into my clinic and put that money in my bank account so that I can help him or her achieve those goals? You know, this is the sales copy conversation. And I always say, like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when I started business, I wasn't my ideal client. I was like a 20-year-old. I was happy and healthy and no responsibilities. Now I am my ideal client. If I can make a message that resonates with me, it's the message that'll resonate with the person I want to pay me to help them achieve their outcome. These are the conversations we need to capture and deconstruct. Do we have
I feel
that?
like I feel, go ahead. What was that, Tony?
No, go ahead. I'm listening.
I feel like a lot of my ideal clients aren't like that. Like
Really?
they take action. Yeah. Like,
yes,
like, okay.
But who were they before they took the action? Isn't that what, Tony, isn't that what you're talking about? Is like, what message does that person need to change?
Certainly could be. Meaning, okay. So Tony, when your person, maybe they had all that frustration, they procrastinated, just like the window analogy, they procrastinate, they come in, now their knee is like, they can't even walk, right? They're coming in with all these issues. Now the knee is throwing them off, and now they got some back pain and some other things. And maybe they had to use a walking stick or a crutch or a cane or something. Now it's kind of thrown off. Now they got hip and shoulder pain. They got all this stuff. Now they come in, and now they, like the window analogy, now they require more physical therapy. I feel like a lot of my, like that type of patient will that type of patient also require more of your encouragement and urgence, like urging them, like, oh, you could do this, you could do this. Like, are they come in the clinic, are they like motivated, they show up, they not total knee replacement post-surgical, let's say non-operative, they come in after they might have procrastinated, you ask them, how long have you had this knee pain? And they're like, oh, I don't know, on and off for 5 or 10 years, or it's gotten real bad the last year. Maybe you dig in, like, hey, what have you tried? Of course, they've tried, hot pack, cold pack, YouTube videos, oh yeah, I watch you on YouTube, whatever, this, that. I tried, I don't know, massage and Advil and ibuprofen and injections and all this other stuff. They come in, Tony, are they also now going to require a lot of your motivation and encourage positive reinforcement, all that type of stuff?
I think they do. I think the target I'm looking for, me, is maybe 20 years younger, 10 years younger than your target. And not necessarily even younger in age, but just younger in kind of maturity. I am looking to create a new community of individuals who still have kids that are in the house. They're not graduated. They're not in college, who, like I said, they're effectively me. I'm going to turn 50 next month. I'm looking at where I am. Yeah, I'm looking at where I am financially, family, personally, physically. I'm making plans for that. And so I want to surround myself, maybe this is just a selfish on my part, but I do want to kind of surround myself with people who are going through that same life phase, so that maybe we can do this together as a little bit of a community. So when I'm coming into the clinic, I'm not coming to do a job. I'm not coming to treat people. I don't want to treat people anymore, but I'm coming like I'm hanging out with friends who are all moving toward this next phase in life. And I do think your population, they're past that. Their kids are older. They're maybe more financially successful already. And they're looking at maintaining and improving, not just like, I don't know. I do think it's a different life phase that you're targeting compared to what I'm talking about right now.
But is it, you guys are talking about demographics. I think it's psychographics. So
even with psychographics. Yeah.
Let's pair these two examples we're talking about. Is like, Dave might be saying that his ideal patient, the people that find him, dude, they were Stanford grads and their kids are going to Stanford. So they don't need to be convinced. They've drank the Kool-Aid. So it's more like a bell curve. Tony's talking about the people who are maybe in the middle of the bell curve, or maybe slightly to the right of the bell curve, who are like, yeah, we never did that before, but that's within reach. Or maybe we should. Yeah, that feels like something we should prioritize. I feel like, and using the bell curve analogy, I think is good. There's more people like that than there are. Dave knows this. Dave knows he's not going after 99% of New York City. He's going after 3%, 5%. I don't know. I'm just making up numbers, but he understands that he's aiming, because he's higher, because he's charging something more and delivering a lot more. He's charging more. It's going to shrink that market. But what you're communicating needs to be different, right? This is how we've always done. You've been there. You're a legacy. That's what you need to say to someone who has been to an Ivy League school to get their kid to go to an Ivy League school. Different conversation to get someone to even think about that. Man, you didn't go to college, but your kid qualified. Don't you want to give them the best opportunity to take that step forward, to have that thing you never did? I mean, how many times do you hear, give your kids something you never had? So it's different messages for different audiences, which is also a good segue to the ads that Dave wanted to put up on the screen, because what you say in the copywriting matters. This is different bait for different fish. Can
you pull those up?
Yeah, we'll start with, I'll go in order, Dave, and you tell me if I have the right ads on screen.
Yeah. So I have a personal opinion on this. I would love for us to do the pros and cons of each.
Okay.
And maybe pick a winner. I don't know why, but I was targeted with one of these or two of these. I think I clicked on one. So now, the algorithm was like, all right, let's send this user another back pain golfing ad. Right. So this one is from like a coach, like whatever that means, like a personal trainer, right? Like a whatever golf coach. So golfers eliminate back pain, regain peak performance, fully recover from back pain with relief in 28 days, healing back pain. Our clients, by healing back pain, our clients typically play, six more rounds every week. They add 30 yards to every drive, improve their shot consistently by 50%. DM me, quote unquote, golf for more information. You tap and this is on Instagram mobile, you tap that golf button, and then it does like this
it's a chat bot.
What do you call it? It's like a chat bot, but so you click it. It shows the preview of the message. I think you have to do another action, right? I think you have to tap golf there or something.
That was the first one, maybe. Yeah.
I think I opted into this, and then the whether it was a bot or whatever, then this account, messaged me like, oh yeah, tell me about your golf pain with, tell me about your back pain with golf. And I'm like, no, I'm just physical therapist. I'm just clicking. I got served this ad, and I was just, I accidentally opted into your ad.
And he's like, awesome. Thanks for costing me $3.
Yeah. Well, that's business. That's what it is.
Take.
I'm sure Tony clicks on ads all the time. I know I do. So, okay, that's the one. And then, it was just like right into DM. Okay. So here's a second one. Golfer with back pain? ? I'm looking for 5 golfers who want to decrease pain, unlock mobility restrictions, improve strength, stability. Send me a message for more info. Dr. Brandon Bensing, PT, DPT. Same exact ad in terms of like a DM type message. You click, you tap send message. Then you have to click that again. So the blue font here, if you're watching on YouTube, you have to tap that button again, and that will send that message as if it's from you. So the previous one was golf in capital letters. This one is I, the user, I'm sending this message to this ad account, this golf back pain person or PT. I have back pain. So I have a couple pros and cons of this, like maybe just to help the audience, like what are some pros and cons of both of these? So one is it doesn't really matter, but one's from a coach, whatever that means, and then one's from one of our colleagues somewhere in the country, Florida, I think, a physical therapist. We could go, I don't know, copywriting, quick view of design, call to action, features, benefits, that type of stuff. Who wants to start first?
Jimmy, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'd like the copywriting and the coaches ad first, and this would be Coach John Hamm. Golfers eliminate back pain. Here's why. I don't like the design because I think it's too small, and I think there's too many words compared to the Dr. Brandon Bensing. But he talks about playing 6 more rounds of golf every week. I mean, even these things even sound ridiculous, but whatever. Adding 30 yards to every drive and improving their shot consistency by 50%. I think he was swinging a little bit out of his golf spikes a little bit there, but he's saying the things that you want. Like, these are the things that you feel like you're lacking. Luke was lacking a father and wanted to be a Jedi, right? Where Dr. Bensing here is talking about decreasing pain, in unlocking mobility restrictions. I'm a golfer. I don't
classic physical therapist.
Right. I love the fact that, and I'm not knocking Dr. Brandon Bensing. I love the fact that he's using probably something like ManyChat to do a chatbot sequence like this and put it out there. I'd say he's 85% of the way there, but I'm looking at this first one. This is hard to read, so that's just me nitpicking design. I think I agree. Brandon's is way easier to read. I think if you even if you put this copy through ChatGPT and said, give me a smart brevity version of this, like, knock it down a little bit, make it easier to read. They do both have 3 things, which is good. People like 3s: Amigos, Stooges, Blind Mice. But the first ad here that's on the screen from the coach is talking about the tangible things that I would tell my buddy I wish I had, or the thing inside, versus Brandon's talking to PTs almost. Improve strength and stability. He's making me do math for one more step. Well, if you have strength and stability, you can hit the ball further. Then why the hell would you just say that, right? Like, why not just say that? The coach is saying that. I think Brandon probably doing it because he's overthinking it and he doesn't want to sell too much because he's a bleeding heart and he's got Peace Corps, he's got the Peace Corps gene. So that's why I'm not knocking him. I see what you're doing, but do it more like this. If you think you can do that, say it. Tony, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Like, this one, more eye-catching, hard to read, but more eye-catching, better language, better copy. It resonates the message. Even the image in the background of the guy.
Yep.
You kind of have to strain to figure out what it is, and then you realize, oh, it's this guy holding his back. Go to the other one. I just feel like the other one's too plain Jane. It's a magazine ad. Like, I'd turn the page. That's all that I would do instantly.
The only thing I like about Brandon's versus the coach is the headline. Like, we've talked about visual hierarchy before, right? You've seen that image. It comes up with a bunch of words. It says, you will read this, then you will read this, then you will read this, then you will read this. It's based on visual hierarchy. The only thing design-wise I like about this, well, a couple things. Number one, the text is easier to read. I don't know about white and yellow on green. I get what he's doing with the golf, but golfer with back pain ? Right? So he's going after the golfer with back pain versus the headline on the coaches. I don't know where to look first because those first 2 lines are the same size, same height, or same font size, and they're different colors. I don't know where to skip to. This is a little bit more clear. He obviously took this looks like a design from Canva, but what wins and what typically wins, if you put better design by both of these ads, if you had a designer design both the ads, this one still wins because of these 3 bullet points. Play 6 more rounds every week. First of all, who the hell has time to play 6 more rounds every week? Who's doing that?
No, I have a family friend who plays a round of golf. Like, okay, he's a physician. He's a cardiologist. and he plays a round of golf almost every day.
But could he play 6 more rounds? That's what this ad is saying.
Absolutely.
Like, that is
Absolutely he
insane.
could, because golfers are insane. These two, that's the thing these two guys know that we don't really know.
Yeah, you're right. You're probably
that
right.
coach and that physical therapist know their ideal client. If they're in pain, they have something nagging, whatever, they can't do the thing that lights them up the most. And golfers, if you're a golfer, and I'm not, Tony is looking like he knows some golfers out there in Ohio. Golfers are insane. They're kind of like runners, right? Like people that get the running bug and they run every single day. Yes, a golfer who's obsessed, which is the ideal client of both of those, it looks like or sounds like.
Yeah.
Then yes, 6 more rounds. It seems like yes, it's what's that like? Is that like a third of a round, right? Something like that. So like, could they fit that in? Yes. Golfers are crazy.
And the thing is, even if they can't, they think they want to.
I have the ability to.
You know,
right.
yeah. So like that's what you're playing to. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I love the first ad. Not so hot about the second. It's not bad. It's just not like bringing me to any kind of emotion or anything. The other thing I would say, I mentioned this on the show before. We're in the market right now for a new car for my 16-year-old. So we're getting, we're researching cars, we're looking at financing, we're doing all this stuff. I started getting Subaru ads. Well, no, they're not even ads. They're funny reels about Subaru owners. Now, I'm not trying to get canceled, so I'm not going to say, but I think anybody watching this knows.
Who are you going to offend by mentioning this? Come on.
When you think of who owns a Subaru historically, it's a very specific archetype of a person.
Right.
And so
Go on.
Now I'm getting those reels. I send those reels to my wife. I said, as soon as you click on this, you're going to get 20 lesbian Subaru like videos. That's everything in your feed. And so, but when you think of that, it's the same thing with this. Like, I love that Dave brought up runners. So I'm not a golfer. I've known plenty of golfers, but like as a runner, yeah, I will run every single day. I'll run through the rain. I'll run through the snow. I will run through harsh conditions just to say that I ran in this kind of weather. And so playing to my emotions around that, even if I couldn't run 6 more miles a week, I want to feel like I could run 6 more miles a week. I want to pretend in my mind that I could run 6 more miles a week.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So just a quick recap on these 2 ads, right? I saw both of them. I think I had screenshotted the one, and then like later that day, a couple of days ago, later that day, I got the other one. So I was like, oh, then I screenshotted the second one. Then I sent them to you guys. I was like, hey, we should, we can discuss this. What's hilarious is every single thing that you guys both said about these 2 ads, I had in my head. That was my perceived initial response. But I was like, let me send them to Jimmy and Tony. Maybe we'll get this on the show, and let me hear how they can maybe poke holes in this. And you guys said exactly what I thought, which is the first one's got crazy looking abnormal design, but the bullet points are better because they're like a tangible, like a few more yards, a few more rounds. It's something like an actual number instead of like decreased pain, increased mobility, like whatever that means, like blanket statement.
Which is funny, right? Because PTs have to write objective goals. But as soon as we start talking about what we do, we start talking about in ambiguities. And I'm like, dude, be specific. And also don't write the goals that you'd write on a note, right? Say what you'd say to the patient. Don't translate it to soap note jargon. Say it like you'd say it as a human. Then we sit down at a keyboard and we start talking like that. That's the mistake.
I mean, it's okay because it takes like writing ads like that. It takes some trial and error and chops. Like it takes some reps and it's not like anything that we've typically done before, and that's okay. So you can learn it.
An exercise we used to do when I was back in radio, or I was taught, was like throw out your first 5 or 6 ideas, like throw them out, write them down, toss them. Just clean the pipes. You know what I mean? Get it out of there. Because those are the ones that aren't going to resonate. Like, get all your crappy ideas out. That's why, like, those social media posts that say, like, bad ideas only, like, that's why they work. It's like, it's funny. Like, let me get all the crappy ideas out first. Like, let's have the fun ones that won't work. And then when you've gotten that out of the way, that's how you differentiate, is you've got to get the bad ideas out of the way first.
Jimmy, take a look at some of the comments. We got a bunch of comments. While you're looking at that,
I don't see comments.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch. Will Boyd, Scott.
Something's wrong.
Rafi.
Yeah, bring them up on screen. I don't have anything on my screen.
I don't think I can. Oh, yeah, I can. Let me see.
I see Scott. I see good to see you guys. That's all I see.
Yeah, I can't.
That's all I see too.
There's a bunch in the comments. Anyway,
Tony's plugged into some private chat line.
Another drill talking about like, so Dave screenshots those ads, you know, and what I'm doing right now, I'm going to interview a guy coming up. I think he makes incredible videos about products and things that he's using. He's a DPT. I can't wait to connect with him in person. A copywriting drill. Dave, I bet you've done this. You find old copy sales letters and you literally handwrite. Yeah, you handwrite exactly what was written then, and it starts to get your brain thinking in the same way. So like I would take the first ad that we saw, the preferred ad of the two, and I would recreate that ad. Like I'd recreate the same colors, the same words, just literally recreate the ad. And then I would start to model and recreate it in ways that are more original so that I'm not just plagiarizing that. I'm doing that in video. So right now I'm looking at some of the most successful videos, reels and stuff, and I'm breaking them down into a framework. So I'm like, all right, what sounds are they putting in? Where are they making the cuts? What are they doing? And then I recreate the exact video that they have, but I do that to understand the structure. And then I use that as a framework for future videos that I'm going to create. Because my social media, and I shared it with you guys, but it's going crazy. Like TikTok's growing 100 new followers a day, which is huge for that. I'm over 400 followers now. Instagram, I got my first 100,000+ view reel, and it's adding like hundreds of new followers to Instagram. The Facebook is at 2.5 million views in 28 days on the reels. So I'm like, okay, I've got real traction, but I need to understand, like, how do I keep improving that content? How do I keep improving the messaging so that, you know, I've got something of value here? But those are all great drills.
Yeah, you could look up like old like most popular magazine like ads like headlines. I actually years ago, back when I was doing the copywriting and the landing pages and all that type of stuff for Ron Miller and that whole cash physical therapy coaching type stuff, I wrote out and I don't want to get canceled either because this guy Gary Halpert, in some of his writings, you found out later that there was some racist whatever. I didn't know that, but I wrote out by hand his boron letters. So this guy was like a copywriter, and then I think he was jailed because of like tax evasion. It's kind of a crazy like story, right? Is this Tony's nodding his head, but he wrote letters to his son, and now his son, by the way, I think he does copywriting and whatever marketing, where he writes sales letters and like the video webinar type scripts or whatever for companies. Anyway, so this guy was like some legendary copywriter. I just took that from it. I didn't take anything else from it, but I took that and I hand wrote his 20 or whatever boron letters. And boron was like, I think it's some jail in California. So that's like why it's called boron letters. And like each letter was like, I don't know, a couple pages. And I hand wrote those, the whole thing. And the biggest thing, like, you don't realize it once you start doing it. And yes, it takes time and effort, and you know, you got to put effort in if you want to grow and expand and all that type of stuff. So once you realize the style, like starting a sentence, like not always grammatically correct. Anyway, if you write out those headlines or the sub headlines or things like that online, you start to see the patterns. And then you start to realize, oh, like this is the structure that like every ad, infomercial, commercial, like proven, tried and true advertisement has come from. So yeah, it works, but yeah, it takes effort.
Yep.
What else we got to close the show, guys?
How you doing on battery life?
It's slim. 12%. All
Let's
right.
see. So we covered ads. We covered. I want to hear real quick, Tony. So you were at the IMG Academy, right? That was the Nick Bollettieri, that the academy that he started. Okay. So real quick, and you can fill in any gaps. I heard that he's a man, or now he passed away, but he was a madman. And what's fascinating is like he was the tennis coach for Andre Agassi, correct?
Yeah.
And so many others. And he was not a tennis player. Like he didn't professionally play tennis. So sometimes with coaching or like in pro sports, like, I don't know, like Bill Belichick, like I'm sure he played, football when he was younger, but he didn't play in the NFL, right? Like, but he became the best NFL coach of all time. So I don't know, is that like a talking point in the 12% battery life that we have remaining on the show?
I think the interesting thing, I mean, and I have researched this. I can't even count how many times, like the difference between a coach, a trainer, a mentor, these different words we use. So I look at somebody and I didn't know him personally in any way, but even using this as an example. So you have Andre Agassi, which was like the big name. Maria Sharapova was there when I was there. There were multiple like top tier tennis players, but then also with IMG, we had the Wizards basketball team was there when I was there. There were professional golfers there when I was there. But still, you look at Nick Bollettieri and you're like, all right, we saw the success with Andre Agassi, but how many thousands of athletes did he influence and impact that really never went anywhere? And so why do we cherry pick this one? The results of that are not representative of the results of so many others. So I don't even know that there was any advantage, any benefit to him. Like Belichick, with him and the Patriots. I mean, the Patriots are dying these days. They're horrible. But it's like, again, was it timing? Was it you had the right personalities? I think probably the best thing was the perfect union of whatever the athlete needs and whatever the coach provides. Those two come together at the right time in the right place in the right environment for, the outcome, whatever the outcome is going to be. And I think about that with patient care. I'm like, look, I'm not the smartest. I'm not the most knowledgeable. I'm not the deepest into the research. But I do think that if I hit the right person at the right time with the right message, amazing things happen. I can't take credit for that. It's just, it is what it is. But yeah, there were some really incredible experiences. Dave Hogarth was my CI. He was the physical therapist. He was the physical therapist for a lot of the pro athletes. He moved to Arizona. I think he was working with one of the professional baseball teams for a while. I connected with him just through social media recently, but the thing that I always say about that clinical experience was you've got professional athletes on a plinth, and then right next to them, you've got local geriatrics from the community on a different plinth. They're both doing exactly the same stuff. They're seeing the same therapist. They're doing the same interventions. It's just almost like a surreal because you think these professional athletes are doing such crazy things that we can't even imagine. They're not. They're doing the same. Back then, this would have been a long time ago, TRA contractions and pelvic clock, that they were doing that stuff. So
Jimmy just grabbed the prop off the shelf. Jimmy, what do you got?
Yeah, Scott was asking what the deal was. I got a bunch of crap in the background. This is, he said, what's up with the bowling pin? So maybe this is a lesson is, bands and stuff would come to the radio station all the time and do meet and greets. I got bored of those because it felt weird to just sit in a radio studio and tell people that I was hanging out with rock stars. So I started changing the location, I would say, because also 50 people can't fit in the radio studio. So what we started doing was like finding fun activities that we as the staff would want to do, like go-karting, bowling. We did laser tag and paintball. So this was just a bowling pin at the band. There was a Canadian band called 3 Days Grace, wrote a bunch of rock hits. So I would always make it like a point to get something weird. Like I think I had like a go-kart tire signed by Nickelback or something at some point in silver marker. So yeah, so that's what this is. This is like a remembrance of my radio days with the band 3 Days Grace when we went bowling one time. I went golfing with Puddle of Mud, stuff like that.
It's hard to sign a golf ball.
It's hard to sign a golf ball. I think I had him sign a flag.
There you go.
Yeah.
I gotta jump off in a couple minutes
Yeah,
early. So we'll do some
let's
parting
wrap it up.
shots.
Yeah.
Let's
Parting
wrap it
shots,
up.
guys. Go ahead.
Dave, you start.
Let's go back to the advertisement. Know your audience, get some external help. I don't have any advertisement coaching thing to sell you, so I have nothing to sell you. But like, we put out this stuff because this is the stuff that like we think about, and we would kind of send to each other anyway, and we're just putting it in front of you. Go on YouTube, go to Learn Medicare Billing, go to PT Pinecast or the Dave Kittle Show. You can look at those two different ad examples. And that is just in itself, just comparing those two, and one's a coach, one's a physical therapist, but whatever, like basically targeting the same type of person, the same ideal client or avatar, and seeing those differences. And just, you should be able to optimize your potential advertisements and ads in the future by looking at those examples, hearing how we said, here's the pros and cons, here's what we would do different, and here's the winner we're picking, and here's why. That hopefully can get you on first base or second base when you go to run your ads. And, you want to help more people, right? So like, do so by putting out better ads online. And that's one way to do it.
Yeah, an interesting observation from today's show and past shows. We don't necessarily like plan this stuff out, but we all come with very similar like past experiences. Dave did copywriting. I studied copywriting. Jimmy's a great communicator. I think what you see is people who are moving in a certain direction tend to have commonalities behind them. Certain things are important to them, certain things. And if you don't have people around you to support that, you got to go find those people. You got to come to a show like this. You got to, find people either in real life or virtually. Next time, Dave, I think you saw that email. I copied you on it. The person who reached out, they said they're 45 minutes away. They want to come to physical therapy. Let's talk about that.
Next episode, I want to break that all down. Yeah.
Yep. But anyway, point being, find people that support the direction you're going. Find people that are ahead of you that you can chase to catch up to. And I get a lot of motivation from people who are behind me, who are pushing me to get better, pushing me to be, 2 steps faster because they're catching up. So just put yourself in those environments. Jimmy?
Yeah, I would say try to be really honest. You're probably not going to change the environment. You're really not going to change culture, right? Culture is too big and the environment is too big to change. The quickest, easiest, most consistent thing that you can change is yourself, and ask yourself, like, am I in the right spot? And if you're not, move, right? Because everything's too big to change. I used to think I can come in and change things. And that was like me being naive and maybe being young and not understanding things. But put yourself in a good position. And if you're not, you got to move to do that, right? Or communicate it differently and find those things. I see a lot of people saying, I want this to change. A lot of Facebook groups that we're in saying, how do I change this director or this productivity requirement? It's probably not going to change. You're not going to. The funny part is we can say this and someone could agree. They're probably going to stay until they were going to stay and move anyway. Like, you're going to make that, you're going to sit in the pot of water that's getting hotter until it gets too hot. And then you're going to leave. Even if someone says the pot's going to continue to get hotter, you're going to burn unless you leave. So pay attention to that. Maybe we save you 5% of the pain once you recognize that. Myself, and the way I am able to say this is because I am dead guilty of it myself. So that's what I got. Have a good New Year's Eve, guys. Celebrate well.
Yeah. Stay safe.
And we'll see you I'll see you next year.